We're going to welcome Nick Howe to the stage from NatWest, and he's going to talk to us about funding and free money. Well, maybe not free, but funding at least.
Thanks very much. Morning everyone, how are we? Good, excellent, thank you very much. I'm going to make the cameraman do a little bit of work because we've all been sat at the podium, so I'm going to annoy him and walk about the stage to keep myself warm. So I've got the delightful topic of funding, and actually it's a really, really important topic for businesses up and down the country of all different shapes and sizes. So we're going to touch on funding during the next 25 minutes. Before I do that, I just want to sort of set the scene. I work in a role for NatWest Business Banking, a role as Enterprise Manager. We think it's really important to be more than just a provider of financial services, but how do you make the difference? And what we feel is really important is sharing knowledge, expertise, contacts, events, venues, etc. And that's very much the role that I have across London and the South East. It's a real pleasure to work with Suzanne and the whole team here on another successful year. The topic of funding really comes about through the number and the weight of experience and contacts we have with businesses. And for me, the reason I love the job is because every day is different. Although I'm talking about business, perhaps starting up in business or business funding, every day is a different one. And I get so much pleasure, so much enjoyment with the variety of the conversations. Last week, for example, I was speaking to a colleague of mine up in the North East. He's just opened an account for a new dog grooming parlour. The creativity, the innovation is always there, and that's what I love working with. This dog grooming parlour had actually called themselves Indiana Bones and the Terrace. Now, if you don't hear that from an entrepreneur, I don't know where else that talent is actually out there, so we absolutely love hearing those stories. I think one of the other things that we've learned, last year, for example, we were lucky enough to have 105,000 new businesses who chose to start their journey with us last year across the UK. Now, if we are more than a provider of financial services, some of those people are going to be making mistakes. Some of those people are going to be wishing if they had their time over again, they'd want to be doing some things slightly differently. And we owe it to that next generation of entrepreneurs and business owners coming through to try and share some of those lessons. So the number one lesson that they share with us is the need when you start on a business to fall in love with your customer's problem, not your solution to it. Passion is an absolute requirement for any business owner because we have to be self-motivated to be able to go out there and do everything that we possibly can. But there is a very fine line between being passionate and being blind passionate. So ask yourself, when you're making a decision, when you're changing the way, the direction that the business is heading off into, is this something that my customers are validating? Hugely important. Okay? So what I want to touch on is the whole area of business funding with you today. There is some good news and some bad news. The good news is that there's never been so many options out there in terms of business funding availability. The bad news is it's never been so confusing because there's never been so many options actually out there as there is today. I think the challenge for most business owners is too complex, and I think actually we've played a part in actually making that complexity too much apparent. What I would say to you is as you're contemplating, you're planning, you're thinking about what your business funding needs may actually look like, don't make it too consuming, don't make it too confusing for yourself in order to actually say, this is why I need the funding. Don't get yourselves wrapped up in, I need asset finance, I need trade finance, I need this, that, the other. Actually, what do you need to spend the money on? Now, usually, it will split itself into two segments. One will be an example of capital investment. Now, capital investment would be an item like a bit of machinery, a fridge unit for your shop. It might be a website, it might be a vehicle. And the expectation there is that if you make this investment for the business, gradually, over the months, you will earn more sales from your customers in order to be able to repay that bit by bit, month by month. And therefore, at the end of 3, 4, 5 years' time, that asset then becomes the ownership of the business. So that is capital investment. The other side to the sort of funding needs is then working capital. And effectively, working capital is bridging the gap between when money has got to be paid out versus when it's going to come in. Now this, if I'm honest, is the hardest part to judge, and it's the hardest part to calculate, and it's a moving feast all of the time. So that understanding that challenge in terms of how does my working capital work as a business, and trying to work out if I have a working capital need. So if I'm, for example, got a lovely contract with Sainsbury's, and actually I need to make the products for Sainsbury's today, my suppliers are going to want payment before I kind of get the money in 120 odd days, there is going to be a working capital need there. There is likely to be lots and lots of solutions and options there, but identifying where the problem lies is the first ownership responsibility for you as the business owner. The next stage is then talk to someone like ourselves to say, this is exactly where we need some help and some support. So in terms of the bank will provide a lot of examples of what we would call debt finance. Now, debt finance takes so many different forms, and I don't want to sort of kind of scattergun and go into too many details today, but what I just want to sort of flag up is that actually, whether it's loans, overdrafts, asset finance, invoice finance, trade finance, all of those are things that we do, but you don't need to concern yourselves around what badge they actually have. Again, go back to the point, this is what we need to spend the money on. This is where the funding need is actually within my business. What options would you suggest I've actually got available? Now, the bank is not the only solution out in the marketplace, as I touched on earlier. There are so many different scenarios, there's so many choices out there right now. And so I just want to sort of pick on some of them. One of the challenges that business owners have, I think, a lot of the time is that actually, if I'm running a business, I will always need some form of funding. Actually, no. Businesses across the UK that we're lucky enough to look after, roughly speaking, split themselves in half. There are around 50% of the businesses who do have funding of some description, and there's another half of the businesses who don't have any form of funding at all. We love working with women in business also, and we really understand the marketplace. In fact, the market and the research and the data suggests that women are far less likely to ask for funding. However, if you look at the success rate for females who actually do borrow and do actually take out some funding, they are more successful at repaying that debt. So the whole scenario will really much depend on your individual business, where the actual funding needs actually lay themselves. Now, who likes if grants were available? Who's kind of heard of grants and thinks, yeah, I kind of like grants as an option? Yeah, we like a grant. Why do we like grants so much? It's free money. It's free money, apparently. Now, unfortunately, for most traditional profit-making businesses, grants are not hugely available. Basically, a lot of the grants are steered and earmarked towards social organisations, social enterprises and charitable groups. There are some industries whereby the innovation side of things does warrant and does have several sort of funding rounds and funding competitions. What I would always signpost, and I'm going to try and give you an example of how it can be more than a provider of financial services. Who, in their business planning journey, has been to the library? One, two, or scattergun. Okay. So, for all of you, I would urge you to take a trip to your local library in the first instance, and if not, if you're local to London, the City Business Library. It's a fantastic free resource that you can tap into. One of the things that they can offer to you for free is Grant Finder. Now, effectively how you would work here is you would put in all your details about you, your organisation, what you need to spend the money on, who you help and support, where you're based. What it will then do is it will search the market for you. Now, actually reveal any trustees, any pots of money, any organisations who are keen, and you will be eligible to actually make an application for. So that's one way. What about email databases? Who's sort of been seduced by an offer of 4 million email addresses for £200? Yeah, we've had some examples of that. And actually, when you get the data come through, it's rubbish. You know, it's false, it's fake, it's just not worth the sort of money that's being valued. So if I say to you, actually through somewhere like the City Business Library, you can tap into up to 750 current and valid email addresses that you can then take away with you, which you can hygiene based on sector, based on geographic location, based on the size of the business. I think it's a really valuable opportunity for people. So again, that database information can be hugely important. One of the other services that they provide is the retail directory. Now, I know a lot of businesses that I work with, they're really keen as part of their plan and part of their growth strategy is to think, well, one day I want to get my product into John Lewis or Debenhams or wherever. Well, the retail directory, again, available for free through City Business Library, gives you the name of the person who's responsible for the different departments at John Lewis or Debenhams or wherever it might be. So it's a great inroad, it's a great bit of planning, a great bit of research in order to actually help you understand, okay, how do I now get myself in front of Joe Bloggs or whoever it might be that's got that responsibility. So you can see there the wealth of research and availability that's available. Another type of funding that people need to perhaps consider, depending on your business type, may well be if you have a service that you perhaps will sell into the public sector. So all the different forms of government. Now again, through your home address, what you can do is log into the gov.uk site and use the term Contracts Finder. Now on this portal, you will find listed any contract that's issued by the public sector, so be it central government, be it local education authority, be it prisons, be it the local borough council, any contract worth £10,000 or more should be listed and advertised there. So you can be able to tap into that, see what contracts are actually out there. Now some businesses, particularly in their early stages, perhaps say to us, well, that's great, but these contracts are perhaps a bit too big for me. Okay, that's fine. That might be the right thing, the right decision to make. However, if you're finding that this is a repeating trend, do consider whether actually one of the things and part of your strategy may well be collaborating with other people. So that you actually together, you could perhaps put a tender in for a contract that may be advertised there. So being aware of where the opportunity lies, I think is hugely important. Changing your business model. Again, is another opportunity, I think, for people when it comes to funding. So I was lucky enough to speak with a lady a couple of weeks ago. She wanted to buy her own care home. So she worked in the industry all the time. She really wanted to own her own place. Now, she was looking at a sort of a house just on the outskirts of London. You can kind of imagine the price that she's looking to pay, and you can kind of imagine the amount of deposit that she's going to need to actually buy the property and then modify it for her purposes. And when I kind of sort of got into conversation with her, one of the things that was really clear was actually she just wanted to help people. She just wanted her own business working with senior citizens of the UK to help them, support them with all the tasks and things. That was the bit that really drove her. So when I said to her, well, okay, that's one option, that's one very extreme way of actually funding and actually delivering your business idea. There are other ways of doing that. So for example, why not try and work with the individual senior citizens actually in their own home? You know, where perhaps they do need help with shopping, with some care, with some attention, some washing, cleaning, etc. Is there a way that you can slowly build your business up by having clients that you go out into their premises? That way, month to month, you haven't got the ultimate commitment of the mortgage on this property that you're about to buy. And actually for her, that kind of made sense. So do think about some of the different models that you may actually have available in order to say, is there a different way of actually approaching this and looking at this? Okay. So one of the other sort of areas that we quite often get asked to look at, sweat. Okay. Now let me explain. Okay. Sweat is an example where, and particularly where it's technology based, a lot of great ideas do require an injection or an investment of time or money very, very early on. And in fact, so early on, when it's really difficult to say, we know exactly where the income is going to come from, we know exactly that what we're going to build is exactly what our customers want and will part with their hard-earned money for. So an example of sweat would be, let's imagine I wanted £10,000 to build a platform, a marketplace out there, put in two halves of the market together. Now I could potentially try and raise funding, £10,000, perhaps from my savings, perhaps from friends and family, and actually pay for this £10,000 for the platform to be built. But once I've got that platform, is it ultimately going to be fit for purpose? Is it going to deliver what the customer is actually looking for? Question mark. We don't know. We're potentially taking a big risk there. So one of the opportunities, and this is where sweat equity comes into play, is whether actually, if you're lacking that technological skills yourself, can I bring someone into my team who actually possesses exactly the skills that I'm looking for? And in return, rather than writing out a cheque for £10,000 for them, what I'd actually be doing is saying, well, come round the team. I'll give you 10%, 15%, whatever it might be, and you build that platform. The other advantage of that is that once you've kind of prototyped it and you've tested it with your audience, and then saying, well, it looks good, but there's a few tweaks and changes that we'd look to make. Well, you've already got that expert around your table. You've already got that person who's part of your team. The only way they deliver value is when the company value goes up. Now, finding this person is not always the easiest thing. You know, some people can have the right CV that you're looking for and all the skills that you're seeking, but one of the challenges can be, well, okay, on paper they look good, but what they like to work with. Okay? So it's a good opportunity for people. It's the right thing for some people. It's not always the right thing for others. What about crowdfunding? Have we heard a lot about crowdfunding lately? Yeah, very popular, and actually this can take many different forms even in itself. So there are crowdfunding campaigns which are for new businesses or for community and social organisations. The way they would work is they're looking to raise a modest, smaller sum of money and effectively in return for a donation. Now, because it's so competitive out there, one of the things that you need to do if you are in that process where you are trying to pitch for some of the funding is you need to make it appealing for that potential donor. So it's not about equity, it's not about a stake in the company, but actually there has to be an incentive for them to donate £50 or £100 or whatever. And people quite often underestimate the value of what they actually have in their abilities to actually trade off. So it might be a VIP front seat ticket to your launch night. It might be a limited edition of your first 100 prints from your new book that you're about to fund. There are often opportunities there to say, if you pledge up to £100 or more, then you would be eligible for this sort of benefit. So through some of the crowdfunding campaigns, that can be a great way of raising not just the funds, but also awareness. Because hopefully you'd then have, if perhaps 100 people invested in your project, you'd hopefully have 100 people out there cheerleading from the side and hopefully raising awareness out in the marketplace. Crowdfunding then can also be much more of an equity play. When companies are on a rapid expansion path, and one of the routes they want to consider is actually raising a significant amount of money to actually grow and scale the business. Now, in return for that, investors will expect a share in the company. And that's certainly something that some of the crowdfunding campaigns will look to do. It's a very, very competitive world out there, but they have access to a lot of the different investors who kind of look at opportunities and partake. One of the benefits of actually having the crowd there is that, as I said earlier, you've got other people who hopefully will be shouting about you to their friends, their family, their colleagues. One of the downsides, it could make it very interesting when you have the annual general meeting. But if you've got 100 shareholders, you need quite a big room if they chose to all turn up. A lot of people, when it comes to running their business, actually love the idea that they are the boss. They are the people making the decisions and they're driving the business forward. So an opportunity to get an investor coming in may provide not just the funding that you're looking for, but it may provide contacts, expertise and knowledge in the industry that really does build the team around you and build your proposition. But some business owners really love the idea of being in control and being the boss. So the question sometimes for you would be, actually, am I the boss if I am answerable to XYZ shareholders? So something else to perhaps consider. Final area, or a couple of areas I want to touch on, business angels. Okay, now business angels, they effectively work in the opposite way to crowdfunders. Business angels, rather than having lots of people who put smaller amounts of money in and together make that big sum that you're after, actually it's in reverse. You're looking for perhaps one or two individuals who have the big amount of money and still help you to get to where you're looking to be. Again, there's some perks there in terms of potentially people may be delivering some of the contacts, some of the knowledge that you're actually looking for to build your team. Equally, on the downside, then it might be a real nightmare to work with. So there's a lot of things to really weigh up and consider. Startup loans. Has anyone heard of startup loans? A few in the room, yeah? So startup loans started around about 4 years ago as a government scheme. It's designed to help any business owner who's in that process of starting up. Now, effectively, the way it works is potentially an entrepreneur can borrow up to £25,000 through the startup loan scheme. Now, the reason that we as a bank will work with them very, very closely, their risk appetite is actually slightly different to ours. We would not be able to support a market whereby there is a big percentage of loans which perhaps will be written off and not be successful. And so we work with them. There may be a proposition that comes through where actually it's kind of something that we would like to see supported, but it may well be just outside of our risk appetite. And that's where working with some of the startup loan support partners can indeed be the right thing for the business owner. You can be, interestingly enough, up to 3 years of age as a business in order to be eligible for the startup loan funding. So it's not purely right at the start of the journey, it may well be sort of 3 years in. And interestingly, I said it's £25,000 per entrepreneur. So actually, if you've got perhaps two of you who are in partnership or in business together, then actually you could potentially look at raising up to 50k, if it's, of course, the right thing for you or not. Okay. Just want to make sure, the only last one I just want to touch on very, very quickly is then peer-to-peer. Now, peer-to-peer, again, is another innovative platform-led proposition that's out there. Really a good example of that is Funding Circle. And effectively what it will do is it will put savers with the opportunity of lending directly to businesses. So savers may have a good amount of money, but perhaps they're not earning a huge amount of interest in terms of keeping it in savings accounts. And so what they will be perhaps considering is, could I lend, say, £10,000 to a UK company? And it may well be, by putting the two together, there's a great arrangement there. It's actually a high risk for the saver, because they are directly lending that money to the printing company or whoever it is that's borrowed the money, and ultimately it's a loan between the two of them. So hopefully they'll kind of keep up with the repayments, but not necessarily the case. So I hope that I haven't confused you even more, because 25 minutes for business funding, it kind of really does scratch the surface. I suppose if there's two actions I'd ask from you today, it's the following. So number one is think about your business, and do I really understand my customer's problem? And actually, have I got validation for it? So have I fallen in love with my customer's problem, not my solution to it? And action number two, I'm around for the rest of the day. You've got my contact details. It's Nick H Enterprise on Twitter, or it's nick.howe@natwest.com, but come and see me later. We love to have conversations. Go on with the day when you feel as though coming to the bank actually is like an exam. And I know it exists, I know it's out there. We love nothing more than having that conversation very early on. So don't think you've got to put all the pain and put the business plan together and then kind of comes to exam day and then roll up to the bank and say, right, it's either make or break. That does not happen now. What we would love is to have those conversations. So think around, what is it that you're looking for that funding for? Let's have a conversation. There may well be some answers that we can directly help you with. It may well be some of the other options that we've kind of signposted and mentioned in brief today. May well be something else that we can signpost you through to. So all ears, and we'd love to chat. All right. So thank you very much. I'll speak to you later, madam.
It was just something for the floor. I just wanted to suggest competitions as another source of income.
You're absolutely right. Yes. Shell Live Wire is a good one.
I've had one very sandy from NatWest as well.
Brilliant.
Pitching competitions. competitions. There's quite a lot out there that are available for cash prizes. I'm pitching again next week with £5 grand prize and the top prize. So it's worth looking what sort of events are out there that are free to enter. And obviously you get good PR as well.
Very good suggestion. Thank you very much for that. So please do come and have a chat during the break or during the rest of the afternoon. So thank you very much for your time.